Poppy Playtime is a great game, but if you think it makes sense, you weren't paying attention at all. Seriously, how do you fall for 30 seconds straight and walk it off like nothing happened, while the deadliest monster ends up looking like it's in hospice care? How does any sane human being keep going deeper into an abandoned factory where the most horrifying creature you've ever seen is haunting you, and possessed toys are whispering in your ear? Today we're reviewing the most absurd things that have happened so far in Poppy Playtime. Chapter 5 is around the corner, guys, so subscribe if you want the best videos when it drops. And if it already dropped, subscribe anyway. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 gave us the biggest trauma in our life the first time we saw Huggy. But let's be real. Any sane person with a functioning brain and even a slight desire to stay alive, if they saw that thing standing at the back of an abandoned factory, would have definitely sprinted out of there and thrown that mysterious letter straight into the trash. But wait, it gets worse. Player, Nerves of Steel, goes to turn on the power, and suddenly Huggy just disappears. What? Wait, why didn't Huggy simply corner the player in the power room and eat him immediately? All the experiments were supposedly starving, so why not eat him right there? And then you're telling me Huggy just stood there like a decorative statue for 10 years waiting to see who would walk in? The hour of joy already happened. There was no one left to hunt. And instead of attacking, he decides to play hide and seek. Why? And even better, player sees the biggest toy on Earth move by its own. Then he literally sees it move its hand, signaling him to follow through the hallways. And he still keeps walking forward. Are you mentally okay, player? Why are you risking your life for someone or something you don't even understand? Okay, now let's talk about the first chase. It's the most pathetic we've ever seen Huggy move. Maybe the reason he walks that slow and clumsy, it's because his knees hurt from standing in the same position for 10 years. Because of that walk, it looks nothing like the time we saw him sprinting like Usain Bolt during the hour of joy. And 10 years later, he moves like a grandpa with osteoporosis. And then, suddenly out of nowhere, he's chasing you through the vents like a full apex predator. Like what? And what about his vent exit? He launches out of the ducts like the Flash with diarrhea. No awareness or anything of what's out there. Bro, 1 minute ago you were walking like a sick turtle. Like, how the hell did you just turn so fast? Okay, that's how you defeat the most evil security system imaginable in the most evil toy factory ever made. Man, that's absurd. But what's even more absurd is that after living through the worst experience of his life, player just looks at the situation and basically says, yeah, I want more. My guy, do you not see how deep that place goes? Do you not see the hanging toys and the massive flower painted on the wall? I don't know about you guys, but player might be the most unhinged individual I've ever seen. Chapter 2. Let's completely ignore the fact that player casually starts talking to a possessed doll as if nothing, and instead of peeing his pants and running for his life after being threatened by another giant wall-clinging creature, he just keeps going. Better let's talk about the game station monsters. In my honest opinion, they're the dumbest creatures in the entire series. They're the only ones who just stayed in one place, in their little games, waiting patiently to see if someone would come play. Bro, I know Mommy Longlegs was the leader of the station, but from what we understand, several experiments were friends with each other. It's not like she enslaved them and said, don't move from your spot until someone walks into this abandoned factory and defeats Huggy. Dude, in real life that would have happened maybe once in a billion timelines. Other experiments in later chapters are roaming freely, wandering wherever they want. Or yeah, locked inside high security areas. But these guys, for some absurd reason, they just stayed put, waiting for years, just like Huggy. Honestly, maybe that's why the prototype left him up there, so he wouldn't have to look at their dumb faces anymore and get mad. And something a lot of people brought up while I was working on this video is, how are the factory's machines and mechanisms still functioning? I mean, yeah, After 10 years without maintenance, nothing should be running at 100%. But okay, I get it, that's story magic. I don't stress too much about background machines that aren't crucial, because there are others that truly make zero sense, and we'll get to those later. Still, how almost all the lights are working perfectly? Street lights barely last a month before they burn out. And these are factory lights from who knows what decade, still glowing like they were installed yesterday. Come on, guys. Okay, now let's talk about Mommy Longlegs Chase. Because conveniently, we just happened to find a massive industrial forge perfectly built to craft the exact gear we need, in the only room where a gear is required. How practical, dude. How efficient. The factory might be abandoned, rusted, and soaked in childhood trauma, but it never fails to provide the exact tool for the puzzle of the moment. But wait, let's not forget about the miracle grinder, placed in the perfect spot for Mommy to get stuck. Man, like the architect really said, let's install this here, just in case a murderous humanoid spider ever needs a dramatic ending. But the most absurd part is still Mommy herself. She hates cheaters, her rules are crystal clear, she controls the game, manipulates the environment, stretches her arms like industrial cables, watches you constantly, and yet she doesn't kill us. And I already know what you're gonna say. Player is smart, the grab pack is powerful. She was just playing with him. I mean, sure, but then explain this. When she's actively chasing player, why not stretch her arm 10 more meters and yank him back like a forgotten sock? During the chase, she stretches them like they're 50 feet long. Minimum. She literally knocks down a concrete pillar with just her bare hand, just to block the path. And suddenly, she forgets how her own limbs work. Because one of the rescue team members in Project Playtime didn't get that mercy. He literally got caught immediately. And if for some reason you still want to defend this masterpiece of convenience, Mommy, an experiment who can stretch her arms 30 to 50 feet like it's nothing, falls into a grinder and can't stop herself? What? The lever is right there, dude! Literally right there! Like, she can stretch 50 feet, demolish concrete columns, manipulate entire rooms, but pulling a lever 1 foot away? Dude, impossible, of course. Nope. Maybe that day she decided stretching 50 feet is fine. But pulling a lever 1 foot away, it was just too much effort, bro. It was a lot. You know? Priorities. If anyone has a logical explanation that doesn't include the phrase, because the script needed it, drop it in the comments. Now we move on to chapter 3. Here there are things you can kind of justify. I mean, you stretch a little, do some mental yoga, and say, "Aight, fine, it's okay." But there's one in particular that, in my humble but finally educated opinion, has no forgiveness at all. The selective flammability of CatNap's red gas. Throughout the entire chapter, that gas was everywhere. Flares get lit, there's open fire, electrical panels are sparking non-stop, but the gas? Completely calm, not reacting to anything. But in the finale? Oh bro, the finale, absolutely yes. Suddenly the gas decides today is the perfect day to ignite everything the moment it touches high voltage electricity. Boom! Massive fireball, and CatNap ends up more toasted than a forgotten breakfast bread. He doesn't even go blind. That explosion goes off right in front of his face, and the bro walks it off like he's built different. Either he's got titanium retinas, or the plot personally shook his hand. And honestly, there's only one way to explain this. We're dealing with the most specific gas in the entire history of gases. An ultra-rare element that only ignites in that room, in that part of the world, at that exact moment. Because let's not forget, CatNap was basically a walking gas tank. So how does he not explode the moment the flames hit him in the face? Well, it's simple. That gas only ignites in that room, in that part of the world, at that exact moment. perfect timing. And of course, CatNap waits until we already have a super powerful weapon at the end of the chapter to finally attack. Dude, realistically he could have shown up way earlier and ended up everything in 5 minutes. But no. Cinematic timing over survival instincts, of course. Chapter 4. Here a lot of things can be justified with the classic, the doctor did it. It's the ultimate wild card. Doors opening by themselves? The doctor. Creatures appearing where they shouldn't? The doctor. Weird inconsistencies? The doctor. Again. It's basically the built-in resolve everything button inside Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. But there are moments where not even the doctor can rescue the logic. One of them is the fight against Babachops. I mean, it's bigger than the others, more intimidating, yet somehow doesn't instantly erase player the way other critters did. When you come from enemies that delete you instantly, and then this one jumps around and throws up green liquid at you, you start wondering why the doctor picked this guy as one of his secret weapons. And then there's Doughy, the clay-like being you look and immediately think, bro, where are his organs? Mysteries the game never answers. And how convenient that his weakness to cold appears exactly when we need it most. If he can only take damage while frozen, what happens when he thaws? Does he regenerate? Revive? Or did the script simply decide his time was up? But what about the final battle against him? We're talking about a creature that can grab and shake other experiments like their socks, exactly like he did with the Pianosaurus. But with player? Who definitely weighs way less than Pianosaurus? Suddenly nothing happens. Why when he grabs player, doesn't he just lift him into the air and slams him into the ground? I mean sure, the flares annoy him, fine. That justifies letting him go. But multiple times in that fight, Mr. Play-Doh could have done something worthy of his strength and erased player from existence. But instead, hesitation. Now let's move to the big one. The prototype blows up the lower section of the refuge and sends player straight into the void. And here comes the eternal debate. Player is actually God. Sure. He survived brutal situations. Let's assume the grab pack cushioned his fall. Let's say he performed celestial mid-air parkour. Fine, okay. But how does he not break a single bone? Not even a bad leg? Not even his perfectly styled hair slightly out of place? Dude, back in Chapter 2, when you jump down the hole in PJ's minigame, a much smaller drop, the character visibly reacts in pain. You can literally feel the impact. You almost hear him groan. But now, a far more savage fall, and he just lands like it's just another Tuesday. Dude, that's when my 2 in the morning brain demands answers. At least show him injured. Show him down or something. Bro, Huggy Wuggy literally had his insides hanging out. But player? Not even a scratch. I mean, I don't know, friends. Maybe player is really a god. Maybe that's the twist. But now, I'm asking you, fine gentleman or lady, what other inconsistencies have you noticed in Poppy Playtime? And what new absurdities do you think we'll see in Chapter 5? Drop them in the comments, cause I'll be reading them for future videos. See you the next time!